In 2015, Hideo Kojima posted a simple message on Twitter.
Hello everyone, I'm back!
But where had he been? And more importantly, where was he going? This is a story about connections, about the bridges we build and the weight we carry, about a man who spent 30 years telling the same story only to discover he had something else to say entirely. And maybe, just maybe, it's about why we're all so desperate to reach out to each other even when it hurts. Welcome to BitViews. Let's dig right in. To understand Death Stranding, we need to talk about endings. Not the kind you find in stories, but the messy, painful kind that happens in real life. In December 2015, Hideo Kojima's name was scrubbed from Metal Gear Solid 5's box art, or Metal Gear Solid V if you are one of the real ones. His 30 years of relationship with Konami, the only professional home he had ever known, came to an end, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Or rather, with silence. Geoff Keighley stood on stage at the Game Awards, gesturing to an empty chair. Mr. Kojima had every intention of being with us tonight, he said. But unfortunately, he was informed by a lawyer representing Konami that he would not be allowed to travel to tonight's awards ceremony to accept any awards. The industry reeled. Here was one of gaming's most celebrated auteurs, creator of one of the medium's most influential franchises, being treated like, what? A disgraced employee? A security risk? But here's the thing about Kojima that makes this story more than just another tale of creative differences or corporate mismanagement. For 30 years, this man had been trying to quit Metal Gear. After Metal Gear Solid in 1998, this is my last Metal Gear. After Metal Gear Solid in 2001, I am passing the torch. After Metal Gear Solid 3 in 2004, Snake's story is complete. And after Metal Gear Solid 4 in 2008, this is the end. It became a running joke in the industry. Kojima saying he was done with Metal Gear was like Hayao Miyazaki announcing his retirement. We'd believe it when we saw it. But there was something desperate in these declarations, wasn't there? Like a man trapped in a prison of his own making, rattling the bars but unable to leave because what else was there? Who was Hideo Kojima without Metal Gear? Who was Metal Gear without Hideo Kojima? And then, in 2014, something strange happened. A mysterious game called PT appeared on the PlayStation Store. Players found themselves trapped in an endlessly looping hallway, pursued by supernatural horrors, solving obtuse puzzles that seemed designed to break them. At the end, a revelation. This was a teaser for Silent Hills, a collaboration between Kojima, film director Guillermo del Toro, and manga artist Junji Ito. And yes, I know he wasn't involved, it was just one night in a karaoke bar or something, and he took notes or whatever, and then they never called him again. But still, the dream is very much alive. Can you believe a game done by this holy trinity, or unholy trinity, because if it's a horror game, I mean, man, with Norman Reedus' digitized face staring back at players who'd made it through the nightmare. It was a collaboration made in heaven. You couldn't, in any world, ask people for a fantasy collaboration for a horror game, for a Silent Hill of all sagas, and people will come up with this crazy collab. This is the stuff of dreams, impossible fantasies. And within a year, it was dead. PT was pulled from the PlayStation Store. Silent Hills was cancelled. And Kojima was gone. I am back. two words that carried the weight of liberation and terror in equal measure. Kojima was free. Free from Metal Gear, free from Konami, free from 30 years of accumulated expectation. But freedom, as anyone who's experienced it knows, can be the scariest thing in the world. Kojima Productions, the new Kojima Productions, started with nothing. No office, no engine, no game, just a name, a reputation, and a Rolodex. And in case you are too young to know what a Rolodex is, let's just say a list of contacts, okay? He had all his contacts in his iPhone, okay? But oh, what a Rolodex, what a list of contacts. Within days of the announcement, the pledges of support came rolling in. Guillermo del Toro, still smarting from Silent Hill's cancellation, immediately offered his services. Norman Reedus, who'd been promised a starring role in a game that no longer existed, signed on for whatever this was going to be. But the most crucial connection came from an unexpected place. Guerrilla Games, the Dutch studio behind the Horizon series, offered Kojima something invaluable, their Decima engine, for free. Think about that for a moment. In an industry where engine licenses can cost millions, where proprietary technology is guarded like state secrets, Guerrilla simply gave it away. Why?
It's actually really great to be able to help Hideo on Death Stranding. That is such an amazing team. They are so experienced and they're so talented.
And so, piece by piece, Kojima built his bridge to independence. But bridges, as Death Stranding will constantly remind us, are built from both sides. Sony, who had watched one of gaming's most bankable names become suddenly available, offered not just funding, but something more valuable: trust. They will publish whatever Kojima wanted to make, no questions asked. And Kojima, the ever-loving Sony fanboy, was happy to take this. No questions asked. Remember those words. The first trailer for Death Stranding told us nothing and everything. A naked man on a beach of dead things, a baby that disappears, handprints in the sand, equations floating in the air like accusations. Gaming culture loves to decode Kojima's work, to treat his trailers like puzzles to be solved. But what if the confusion was the point? What if Kojima, freed from the labyrinthine lore of Metal Gear, wanted to make something that couldn't be reduced to a wiki entry? And let's remember, Kojima always did this. Kojima has trained us over the years to decode his trailers, to decode his messages. Remember the presentation of the Phantom Pain? Joachim Mogren, anyone? Remember PT? The same case that brought us to this Fallout. Over the next 3 years, each trailer added layers without providing clarity. Invisible creatures, World War era soldiers commanded by Mads Mikkelsen, Timefall aging everything it touched, a baby in a pod that seemed crucial to detecting something. The gaming community did what it does best. It theorized. Was this purgatory? Post-apocalyptic? A meditation on fatherhood? All of the above? But while we were all trying to solve the mystery of what Death Stranding was, Kojima was building something else entirely. He wasn't making a game about solving mysteries. He was making a game about connection. And then, in 2018, we finally saw gameplay. And it was walking. The collective response from gaming culture was immediate and merciless. Walking Simulator became both descriptor and insult. FedEx the game, Amazon Prime Post-Apocalypse Edition, Uber Eats Simulator. But here's what those surface level reactions missed, and what would only become clear once people actually played the game. The walking wasn't despite the point. The walking was the point. Death Stranding asks you to do something games rarely ask. To feel the weight of your actions, literally. Every package has a mass. Every step must be considered. Lean too far left, you trip. Take on too much, you can barely move. The ground itself becomes an adversary. Rocks that catch your feet, rivers that threaten to sweep you away, mountains that demand everything you have just to climb. This is not a power fantasy. This is not the endless possibilities and limitless gameplay of Breath of the Wild, where you can just climb anything you see and reach everywhere you see without effort for the player. This is not Oblivion or the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, where the only thing you have to concern about weight is that if you have too much, then you can't move and you just need to drop the stuff that you stole. This is not a power fantasy. This is work. Grueling, thankless, necessary work. And into this already difficult journey, Kojima introduces the BTs, or beach things, the souls of the dead caught between worlds. You can't see them, only sense them through your breach baby, or BB, the infant in a pod that serves as your only warning system. When they catch you, and trust me, they will catch you, the world explodes into nightmare. Tar erupts from the earth, a massive creature emerges to drag you down. You can fight, but fighting uses resources. Resources you need to complete deliveries. Resources other players might need. Other players. And here's the thing. This is where Death Stranding reveals its true innovation. As you play, structures built by other players appear in your world. A ladder exactly where you need it, a bridge across an impossible gap, a sign that simply says, "Don't give up." But it's not just structures. Players can leave supplies for others to find. Vehicles abandoned by one become salvation for another. Every helpful action can be liked. Not for leaderboards or achievements, but as simple acknowledgement. This helped me. Thank you. The game forces you to struggle alone just long enough to make you appreciate help when it arrives. When you connect things to the chiral network and you can see the contributions and help from other players, that ladder someone left behind doesn't just save you time. It tells you that someone else stood there where you are standing, faced what you are facing, and decided to make it easier for the next person. And then there are the roads, broken highways that span the map, requiring massive resources to rebuild. No single player could reasonably restore them all. But together, players put resources into shared projects, each contribution bringing the road closer to completion. The first time, and this is the thing, right? The first time you drive on a highway that didn't exist when you started playing, a highway built by the collective effort of thousands of strangers, you understand exactly what Kojima was trying to say. We are alone, but we don't have to be. Death Stranding released in November 2019. 4 months later, the world shut down. Suddenly, Kojima's walking simulator about isolated people trying to reconnect a broken world didn't seem so abstract. We were all Sam Porter Bridges now, carrying our burdens alone, desperate for connection but separated by an invisible thread. The game's themes, isolation, the importance of essential workers, the ways we reach out to each other when physical connection becomes impossible, transform from metaphor to mirror. Players return to the game with new eyes. What had seemed overwrought now felt prescient. The simple act of delivering supplies to those who couldn't leave their shelters? That was a reality now. In a similar fashion to what Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid 2, predicting the future, now, strangely, Death Stranding was the present. In a pure accident of coincidence and luck, or, well, unluck. And just as in the game, we found ways to connect, not through physical proximity, but through shared action, shared struggle, shared hope. The structures we built, literal in the game, metaphorical in life, became lifelines. But here's where the things get complicated, because while Death Stranding aged into relevance like wine, while its message of connection resonated more than ever, something else was happening. The game was changing, or rather, Kojima was changing it. The director's cut, released in 2021, added combat. New weapons, vehicles designed for racing rather than delivery, a firing range, boss battles that felt ripped from Metal Gear. The additions were well made, polished, fun even. It made, mathematically, the game better. But they felt like concessions. Like Kojima, despite creating something genuinely new, the first Stranding type game, was being pulled back towards what was expected of him. Was this what players wanted? Or was this what Kojima thought players wanted? Or, and this is a troubling possibility, was this what Kojima wanted all along? Should we have connected? 5 words that feel like a betrayal of everything the first game stood for. Death Stranding 2's announcement came with this question, hanging in the air like an accusation. A guitar that's also a weapon, combat that looks sleek, stylized, Metal Gear-ish. The walking, that deliberate weighted walking that defined the first game, relegated to montage fodder between action set pieces. But it's that question that haunts me. Should we have connected? In the context of the game's lore, it may refer to the chiral network, the infrastructure Sam helped build in the first game. But metatextually, the thing that Kojima specializes on, metatext. Kojima Productions is no longer a scrappy startup. They are working on 3 games simultaneously. They have partnerships with Microsoft, with Sony, with film studios. Kojima, who spent 30 years trying to escape one franchise, is now building another. And the fans? Many of them just want Metal Gear. They always wanted Metal Gear. Death Stranding was tolerated because it was Kojima, but what they really wanted was tactical espionage action, not a hiking simulator with heavy philosophy and themes. And now you see it. People are commenting on things from the trailers of Death Stranding 2. That ship that looks like a Metal Gear Rex. That guy, oh, that's the actor that Kojima wanted to play Snake, ideally. And wait, is he dressed as Snake? Is everything a Metal Gear reference? The fans just want the same again and again, which is ironically the message from Metal Gear Solid 2. Should we have connected? Is this Kojima's moment of doubt? Is he looking at what he's built? The studio, the expectations, the franchise growing around Death Stranding, and wondering if he's just recreating his own prison. Because here's the thing about connections. They bind both ways. Every bridge you build becomes a path others expect you to maintain. Every hand you reach out to help becomes a hand that might pull you back. The first Death Stranding was about the beauty of connection, despite the struggle. But what if the sequel is about the horror of connection because of the struggle? What if Kojima, free for a brief moment to make something truly different, finds himself pulled back into making what's expected of him? What if the real message of Death Stranding 2 is that some bridges shouldn't be built? That some connections become chains? That sometimes walking alone is the only way to remain free? There's a paradox at the heart of Hideo Kojima's career. He is simultaneously gaming's most celebrated auteur and its most constrained creator. Every game he makes is unmistakably his, yet he spent 30 years making the same game over and over. Death Stranding was supposed to be his escape, and in many ways, it was. It's a game that could only exist because of the connections Kojima forged. The engine from Guerrilla, the trust from Sony, the performances from his Hollywood friends. It's a game about connections made possible by connections. But those same connections now define expectations. Norman Reedus isn't just an actor who was in Death Stranding. He's part of the franchise now. The Decima engine isn't just a tool. It is the foundation everything must be built on. The fans who supported Kojima's independence, they have opinions about what that independence should produce.
I'm back!
9 years, 2 statements, a world of difference between them. The man who declared, "I am back," was escaping something. The man asking, "Should we have connected?" may be realizing you can't escape yourself. Because here's what Death Stranding understood that most games don't. Connection isn't just about the bridges we build. It's about the weight we agree to carry. Every online structure in Death Stranding requires maintenance. Every road degrades without upkeep. Every connection demands commitment. The game made this literal through gameplay, but the metaphor extends beyond the screen. Kojima Productions exists because of connections. Death Stranding exists because of connections. But those connections come with expectations, obligations, weight. So, where does this leave us? With a game that predicted our isolated future and offered a solution we are still not sure we want, with a creator who escaped one prison only to question whether he built another, with a sequel that asks if its predecessor's core message was wrong. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the question, should we have connected, isn't a rejection of the first game's themes, but an evolution of them. Because real connection, not the sanitized social media version, but the actual human connection, is messy. It's difficult. It hurts sometimes. The players who built those highways in Death Stranding didn't do it because it was easy. They did it because someone else needed them. The structures we leave behind aren't permanent. They decay, they disappear, they need constant maintenance. But we build them anyway. It's the same as with life, relationships, and even our own houses. They will all disappear eventually. We just need to maintain them. And we do it because it's the right thing to do. Kojima asking, should we have connected, isn't him giving up on connection, it's him acknowledging its cost. The weight we carry isn't just our own anymore, it's everyone's. The bridges we build don't just connect locations, they create obligations. But here is what Death Stranding taught us, and what I hope its sequel remembers. The alternative to connection isn't freedom, it's extinction. The title itself tells us everything. Stranding. Stranding isn't just about being stuck. In biology, it refers to whales and dolphins who beach themselves, who leave the ocean to die on land. Scientists still don't fully understand why they do it. Some theories suggest it's navigation errors. Others propose illness or injury. But one theory haunts me in the context of this game. Some scientists believe stranding can be a social behavior, that healthy whales sometimes beach themselves because they won't abandon sick or injured pod members. They choose death over disconnection. Kojima began Death Stranding with an image of beached whales. He built a game about connections from that image of tragic loyalty. And now, as he questions whether we should have connected at all, I think about those whales. They knew the cost. They chose connection anyway. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. It's not an answer. It's not even really hope. It's just what we do. It's what we do as humans. It's what we do as a society. We carry the weight. We build the bridges. We ask if we should have. And then we keep going. Because the alternative is something worse than death. Hideo Kojima spent 30 years trying to stop making Metal Gear. When he finally did, he made a game about how hard it is to let go of connections, even when they are killing you. His studio exists because of connections, his next game questions those connections, and somewhere in that paradox is the most human truth gaming has ever accidentally stumbled into. We connect not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Not because it's painless, but because the pain means something. Not because we should, but because we must. And I thank Hideo Kojima for those reflections, for those ideas. And I can't wait to play that new game and to contrast those messages. I can't wait to see reflections of his mind again and project my thoughts on them. I can't wait to keep on keeping on.